Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS. Fans, brews, and Broncos news.
Good evening, Broncos Country. Welcome to another edition of Bourbon, Broncos, and No BS. We got a fantastic show lined up for you guys tonight. Not only are we finally here in week one of the NFL, but we've got a fantastic guest that's going to be joining us tonight and give us his perspective of everything going on in the Titans fan base, hear from their perspective, and we'll bring him up on here in a little bit to introduce himself and get their perspective and everything. And we're going to be talking about what the Broncos can do, looking at the matchups between the Titans and the Broncos, and just get freaking amped about this game because I don't know about you guys, I am sick of preseason. I am sick of no football. I just want the real thing, and I think we're all ready for that. So before that, I got David and Spotty. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
We were talking pregame, guys, and it was like somebody said this week, and you were talking about this week, and I was like, oh, yeah, it's this week. It's NFL week, guys. Like, it's happening. It's been a crazy, sometimes just absurdly long off season, but we're here.
I love it. I love it. Spotty?
No more speculation, no more guesses, no more having to really pay attention to talking heads about why they think that these teams are going to be bad or good. It's all about now what's played on the field. You know, it's going to be about the wins and the losses. So I'm excited for that. I mean, we can only talk so much about what's going to happen or what's our hot takes and all of that. Now we actually get to see it all happen.
Well, I'm stoked. This is going to be a great time, guys. It's going to be a great season. It's our 10th anniversary. So you can say we're officially finally kicking this off as, the season is officially starting. We are going into this, and it's just going to be a great time to hang out with you guys and everything. So we already got some people in the chat. Gary, our marketing guy, how you doing, man? We got all things Broncos, Sean and Richie Rich. This is going to be a great stuff, guys. So post your comments, post your questions. A couple things really quickly. First, don't forget about game day. We got our pregame show, our live tailgate talk show that starts 1 hour before kickoff. So make sure you tune in for that. Also, our live halftime hash show. We're live there. David and Spotty are going to be putting together a pregame podcast. So if you're not following us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcast, you make sure you go do that now. And then if you just want a nice, clean, condensed version of where to find all the different places we're at, head on over to broncosandbourbon.com. Guys, this is the year to get in on that because it's free to sign up this year, and everyone who does gets automatically upgraded to the next membership tier for free when we introduce that next season. So make sure you head over to broncosandbourbon.com, find all of our different stuff, go through the fan interaction side of things, post pictures, get into the game day chat, and all that good stuff. If you have any topics you want us to cover or to talk about on the show or in videos, you can send that to us there on the website as well. But now, before we get into the start of all this, guys, I do have a surprise for you. We haven't seen him in a long time, but we do have something that we can share with you, a little check-in and a message from our co-founder, Mr. Jared. So let's pull that up, hear what he has to say.
Sound kept in.
Nope. How? You guys can't hear that?
No, can't hear a thing of it. No.
Oh man. Well, let me look at that. You guys can't.
Don't hear Jared.
Maybe it is best we don't hear Jared. But I don't know. I have it. Let's see. Okay, let me look at this. But while I look at this and you keep you guys on bated breath to hear what was going on, I'm going to go ahead and maybe push us up a bit. So I told him 7:10, but it looks like he's ready to go. So Lem, I'm going to bring you up, man, and let's get going. Introduce you from the Press Man Coverage Podcast. Dude, how's it going tonight, dude?
Man, it's going well. This is a week of football, week one with number one. Who's number one? Cam Moore, baby. Come on. I'm ready. Yeah, man. Super excited. Thanks for having me, man.
Well, no, it's going to be great to have you here, buddy, and get all of your insight and everything like that. So I'm going to try this one more time before I think I might have fixed it. So let's see if that works.
What's going on, Broncos Country? Just wanted to jump in for a second as the season gets ready to kick off here on this Sunday and say a few things. First, David, that puffball that you're wearing looks ridiculous. It's summer. You look like you're dressing up for the wrong time, so you might want to take it off. I get that you're trying to cover a head of hair, but you might want to try that. Second, Spotty, Adam, John, keep being you. Appreciate you guys being on the team, and I really miss the Orange Weekly crew, so you guys keep it up. Really appreciate you. And then Kevin, man, we're going into 10 years of this thing, and we really appreciate everything you do as one of the co-founders here at Orange Weekly, and what you lack for in height, you make up for in passion, and I think that's super important, and I appreciate that. But yeah, Broncos Country, I just want to say, missed you guys. I'm excited for the season to start this Sunday, and as always, go Broncos.
Well, guys, I know, as Richie says here, it was better before. I'll make sure that Jared gets that feedback so he knows kind of where you guys stand on him. It sounds like nobody's really missing him. I will say that, at least on our side, where I know we're missing him. But Keith says here, Team Visor is sort of in the house, and we got to have some sort of representation if we got Team Puffball here as well. But let's get down into it, guys. Lem, I'm going to start with you, man. Look, we've gone, and all of our fans have heard everything at length about all the preseason, all the offseason moves, the draft, the free agency, and we kind of know really well where the Broncos are at. But looking at this matchup coming here, we know the Titans have done a lot of things themselves, trying to build up their organization. So kind of run us through a synopsis of what exactly the Titans have been doing. What have they been targeting? Where do they feel like they need to build in, other than just their quarterback, Cam Ward? We can get into that for sure, but kind of walk us through what your offseason's been like.
Yeah, so for us, our offseason has been stretched across a few different things that were important to us. So two things from like a on the field perspective. We got 2 joint practices in this year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and also the Atlanta Falcons. Both of those joint practices were probably better than any sort of game experience we could have had. As you guys both know, joint practices is where you see the starters, where you get the most reps. And for us, we have an extremely young team in the top 5 in the NFL in terms of how young our team is overall, and just got a little bit younger from a starter perspective because our young rookie pass catchers are where we're going to be relying on a lot this year. We just announced today in our official depth chart, which I'm sure you guys got one out today from Denver as well, but 𝐒𝐞𝐤𝐢, who was our rookie that came out last year, just earned a starting spot over Van Jefferson for us. So our offseason has been all about seeing what we have in our young guys, but also evaluating some of our veterans and making sure what we think we have, we truly have. And that starts in the trenches with us. We signed Dan Moore Jr. from the Steelers last year to become our left tackle. We had the worst offensive line in the league last year, probably for the last few years. We've set some records that I'm not too proud of here recently. But we signed Dan Moore Jr. to really help out and bolster that line. We also signed the old man with the big belly himself, 𝐁𝐫𝐴𝐳, who came over from Detroit, one of the best guards in the league, an all-pro potential guard. And then 𝐒𝐤𝐿, who came from you guys, who this will be his second year, really his first full year with us. He got about 5.5 games in with us before he tore his Achilles. He's on track to play week 1, which we're really excited about. Then you flip to the other side of the house, leading the defense is another former Bronco, and Cody Barton, who's supposed to be coming in and really helping bolster that linebacking room, giving us a veteran presence. And, of course, our interior D-line is where we make our money with Jeff Simmons and T'Vondre Sweat. Those are 2 guys who we've really been leaning on and trying to see what they have. The unfortunate side of this all season has been, though, we haven't seen them much. And Sweat had his tonsils taken out. It was out for 3 weeks. Why that happened, I don't know. It's very rare you hear of a grown man getting his tonsils taken out. I know the worst part for him was not eating, considering he's probably the biggest man on earth. But, it is what it is. But we're excited. Our off season right now has just been full of testing the young guys, seeing if they're ready. We'll have a rookie punt returner now, rookie kick returner, rookie wide receiver starting for us, rookie quarterback, of course. So this is going to be a very interesting test for us as we make a few philosophy changes on both sides of the ball, especially on the defensive line. We've just started beefing up. We got rid of all these lighter edge rushers and started getting some more stout guys like Draymond Jones, who we got in from Seattle last year, to see if we can help set the edge better, stop the run a little bit, and just hopefully not give up 50 balls every game this year, man. But we shall see. We shall see.
Sure. Well, David and Spotty, I'll give you a chance to ask some questions, but Chris has one right off the bat. Good question for you, man. Who do you think is getting more touches for running back for you guys?
So I would have told you there would probably been a split between Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears, but Tyjae Spears went to IR. That's been kind of the story of his career, unfortunately, here recently, is just injuries. So Tony Pollard is going to be our bell cow back. He's probably going to get 90% of the carries for us. He will be spelled by Julius Chestnut and some by rookie Kalel Mullins from Michigan. But it's going to be Tony Pollard who carries the rock for the majority of the time. Coming off an 1,000-yard season back-to-back, but he's not really built to be a bell cow back. So we'll see how long he lasts if we keep having to lean on him as our primary guy.
I was going to say, a running back getting 1,000 yards in a season, is that allowed? That seems so foreign to us.
What's 100 yards in a game at the end? What's that, really?
Not going to happen to RJ Harvey as long as he's got the number 37 weighing him down, but that's another question.
That's such a bad number.
That's a safety number. What is he doing?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, Lem, you talked a lot about the youth of the team, and it got me to thinking about the coaching staff with Brian Callahan. Do you feel like that's still the right staff to create something out of this really young group of players?
Do I feel like it's the right staff? That's a loaded question, man. So I'll tell you what we're banking on. That's Callahan's experience around Joe Burrow his rookie year, and being able to pull him along pretty quick. Although he got hurt his rookie year, Joe Burrow looked pretty solid coming into the league. And really, Brian Callahan's brought up multiple times how he's been going back. He recorded all of his calls with Joe Burrow. It was during COVID when he was drafted, so it was Zoom. So he had everything recorded and all the conversations that he had with Joe Burrow. So he's been going back and looking at those conversations, seeing what Joe gleaned from it, what Joe brought to the table after a few practices, things he thought they should review, and brought that to the table for Cam Ward. Now, obviously, they're two very different players. I would be crazy to compare those two players in terms of an on-field perspective, but off the field, they're both very cerebral. So it really allowed him to bring that experience over. The problem that we are trying to figure out here in Tennessee is, can Brian Callahan lead men? That's the biggest question for us. He can scheme up an offense. Our offense last year, believe it or not, was second in terms of separation created. So we had guys who were open. We just had Will Levis, who was doing the splits on mayo jars.
Yeah, it was a new meme every week.
Like, dude, it was just the most embarrassing part of my life was having him as my quarterback. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Dude, hands on the head, Cobra Kai style. Whatever you want, he's got it for you. Whether he's farting on the sidelines, it just doesn't matter, man. I was sick of the dude. But, it's one of those things where, can he truly lead men? We think he can scheme up an offense, but can you rally the troops? Things are going to get rough this season for us, at least in my perspective. Are we going to be in a place where we're going to fight back? And it starts this week.
You say, having a bad quarterback. Look, and I get the embarrassing thing. At least your quarterback wasn't bragging about doing high knees on an airplane. So I feel you. Let's see.
Let's ride.
Oh God, we don't say that here. We have buried that, at least for a time period. Let's see. Lem, how healthy is Calvin Ridley? What are you guys hearing about him this year?
Man, so Calvin Ridley's good to go. He'll probably show us questionable in this initial depth chart that comes out in terms of our practice depth chart, but he'll be fine. He's ready to go. He's gearing up for another 1,000-yard season. How he was able to do it last year with rotating quarterbacks, I don't know. But I'm projecting him to get about 1,200 receiving yards this year. Now, what he does with Patrick Surtain week 1, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But he's somebody who'll be healthy and ready to go, and I think he'll be solid. He's a middle of the pack, a number 1 option, if you ask me, right in that Terry McLaurin, maybe a little bit below Terry in terms of production and ability, but we'll see. But health-wise, he's good to go.
I like it.
I'm happy you started off by bringing up 𝐒𝐞𝐤𝐿 because I was hoping that he'd be a Bronco, and all those CU Buff fans out there should remember him because he gave Travis Hunter the business 2 years ago. So that's definitely someone that, we might have to look out for. But to my question for you, we're coming off a season of great expectation for a rookie quarterback. So, what's the feeling? What's the vibe for Cam Ward right now?
Man, the city's fired up. Everybody is really doing backflips for this guy. In terms of in the building, the feeling for him is that he's the guy. He's one of those people who wakes up 4 a.m. He's the first person in the facility, the last person out. They've had to kick him out of the facility multiple times. He has the VR machine, the same thing that Jayden Daniels had last year. So he's doing a whole bunch of mental reps on top of that. So the mentality and what he brings to us is the thing that people are the most excited about. Sure, on the field, we think he can play. The thing that we're having to get used to is he's a true gunslinger, and he's a guy who's going to just air it out. He's already said, hey, when in doubt, air it out. I think what he said in our last preseason game was, when in doubt, vertical it out. He's just going to throw the ball. So we're trying to get used to that as a Titans community, as a guy who really wants to let the ball go and has the ability to make plays off script. We haven't had that in a long time. The closest thing we've had to that is Ryan Tannehill, which he really wasn't an off-script guy. He was a see it, then fire it versus being able to throw with anticipation and predicting where the defense is going to go. But overall, we're excited about Cam. He brings a different element to this team that we haven't had in a long time, really since Steve McNair. We're excited to see what he brings to us. But in the building, they're super excited about him. From a fan base, we're excited about him. And we think he can really help galvanize the troops from a leadership standpoint and hopefully get us more wins than what's expected right now.
What's that? What's it? 5.5 for you guys this year? What's
unfortunately so. That's the overrun.
Hey, that's where we were last year. Look how that turned out. And we even went 0-2 to start the season, and look how that turned out. So
there it is.
You never know. Once that rookie quarterback gets in a groove, and there's a good combination between the quarterback and the coach, and they're on the same page, and they're developing, they're picking up things quickly. I mean, you could turn that around real quickly, Yep. So, and it's proof. Like, people go back and talk about how Bo Nix is a check down quarterback. Like, did you stop watching after week 4? I'm like, yeah, in the first 4 weeks, there were problems, but he turned that around. So, it could be a very similar situation where it's 5.5 now. Before you know it, you're looking at 8, 9, 10 wins.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
David, what you got, buddy? Anything before I go back to comments?
Well, I wanted to think about the defense a little bit, because and we'll talk a little bit more about Cam Ward, because I really want to talk about the matchup with this Broncos defense a little bit, and these skill players with Cam Ward. But this Titans defense, it's, you said you've got, Cody Barton anchoring those linebackers. We all know about Jeffrey Simmons, and it's a kind of a, what's the situation, I guess, about, like, what are you guys feeling with your edge rushers right now specifically? And what's the situation at corner? What's the outside of that defense like? Yeah, because right now, to me, with Bo Nix, I think he's still a little bit more comfortable attacking downfield, especially outside the numbers. And, he'll rip a dig route and that kind of thing in there when the timing is right. But what's that really attacking edge of that Titans defense looking like?
So from an edge rush perspective, Jesus take the wheel. We have virtually no true pass rushers. We're relying on 𝐅𝐮𝐸, who had about 7.5 sacks last year. Also, we're relying on Dre'Mont Jones again, who came over from Seattle. He played a little bit more inside, actually, in Seattle, and he's been bumped out the edge for us. He's done both. He was more productive as a true edge, but now we've got him playing in that spot. We'll see. And then rookie second-round draft pick from UCLA, 𝐓𝐢𝐿adejo, is somebody who'll be kind of serving in that rotational pass rush role, which he's a converted inside linebacker. He's only played 8 games, or if you count the preseason, 9 total games as an edge rusher. So we've got an edge rush room where we're just praying. And I think the Titans' approach has been, they talk about a rush plan, and rushing together has been the biggest thing for them. Last year, we missed a lot of sacks. We were second in the league in terms of missed sacks, because we would have somebody flying upfield or get to the quarterback. The quarterback's under pressure, but our defensive tackle may have spun and went to the left side, opening a gap between the center and the guard. Now we've got Drake May, looked like Michael Vick against us last year because we weren't rushing together. So that's our overall rush plan, is to have bigger, stockier, beefier edge rushers to help collapse the pocket versus having guys who can win one-on-one. Now, how do I think that's going to fare? Maybe not that good, just because you have to have guys who can win. They've talked about moving Jeff Simmons to play edge a little bit more in pass rush downs, and shift an Ardent Key inside because his pass rush win rate against guards is much better against tackles. And then Jeff Simmons is just Jeff Simmons. But on the edge perspective, we're going to have to send a lot of sim pressures, true pressures, and really try to disguise as much as we can and use blitz packages to create pressure. In terms of the outside, L'Jarius Sneed looks like he's on track to play week 1, which he's the key to our defense from a secondary perspective. Our safeties are solid. Amani Hooker and Xavier Woods. Xavier Woods being the Iron Man of last year, played the most snaps in the NFL, over 100 tackles, a veteran that you can just trust. Amani Hooker was a guy who was a fringe Pro Bowler, 5 interceptions last year, and very solid across the board. Somebody who I think who's actually a pretty underrated player in the league. On the opposite side of him, we've got Jarvis Brownlee Jr., who's a second-year corner out of Louisville, very physical, aggressive corner, was one of the tops in pass interference calls against him last year, so we're trying to get him to clean that up. But if Sneed is on the field and healthy and playing true Sneed football, he's the catalyst to our secondary. If he is the eraser that he's been for the last 3 or 4 years, barring injuries, which magically popped up with us, we can have a really solid secondary and be able to really shut some teams down on that perspective. We had the second best pass defense in terms of yardage last year, and we'll see how that continues to go this year. It'll change if we can't get to the pass rusher, to the quarterback, with the pass rush. But overall, our secondary actually is one of the strong points of our team as long as Sneed is on the field.
I like that. A couple quick responses to some comments here. Jacob, it's a 2:05 kickoff, so watch for that. We do have Clay Bomb here. Clay says, smash that like button and share, so make sure you guys are doing that. And wherever you guys are watching, Facebook, YouTube, whatever, make sure you hit that share button, guys, and appreciate you guys tuning in for sure. Definitely want to kind of move the conversation towards this matchup specifically. And again, we've kind of already done a lot of from the Broncos perspective, at least in the last couple shows. So I want to bring up a quick clip here from Brian Callahan talking about this matchup and kind of get your thought, Lem, and then we can, David and Spotty and I can share our thoughts too as we kind of start looking at what is the matchup, where the matchup's going to be and what we can expect there. So let's pull this up. And I think I got the sound right this time, guys. We'll see. Maybe. Let's see what we got here.
Zach Allen and Jonathan Cooper, all really, really productive players. Their front kind of sets the tone, which allows them to cover really well. They obviously have Defensive Player of the Year playing corner for them, Pat Surtain. So really stiff challenge from a personnel standpoint. And then on top of that, I think they're well coordinated. Vance Joseph is a long-time coordinator in this league and does a really good job with that group. You can see their continuity show up too. They play well together. Offensively, the same thing. It starts up front for them. They got a good offensive line. They got 2 really good backs, a veteran one and a young one that both can carry the rock. And then Bo Nix, obviously his growth over the course of the season was really what led to a lot of their success. He's grown every week. I think another offseason in the same system with Coach Payton, who obviously is one of the premier head coaches and play callers in this league. They do a really good job. And then Darren Rizzi and his special teams unit, really, really well coached, disciplined group. So we got to work cut out for us. It's going to be a stiff test. It'll be a hell of an opening environment. Spent a lot of years in Denver. I know exactly what that feels like. And, it will be all that. They're excited about their football team, and they should be. So we're walking into a pretty adverse environment for week 1. So looking forward to it. Looking forward to the challenge. I think our team's up to the task, and we'll be ready to roll.
So I think the big, takeaway here thing for me that I'm hearing is, you guys, at least from your head coach, is talking about, look, we recognize the difficulty here, and they're, paying props to the defense and what the offense has been able to do, at least what they put together at the end of last season. But talking, also about, your own strengths and being able to exploit or utilize your own strengths to take advantage of some opportunities and whatnot. So, Lem, we'll start with you, man, being the guest. What are some of your thoughts from that clip and kind of what's your approach to this game and how the Titans could try to overcome the Broncos at home in week 1?
The key for us, one of the keys is going to be, how do we deal with Nick Bonito and Zach Allen? That's going to be a huge test for us. Again, we've got to revamp offensive line. We've brought in Dan Moore Jr., we brought in Kevin Zeitler, removed J.C. Latham from left tackle to right tackle, his true position. We've got Cushenberry back healthy. We've got all these pieces going well. We've got Peter Skoronski, who was rated by PFF as the second best guard for the last 8 weeks of last season. So we've got some guys with promise, but you're talking about an all-pro and Zach Allen, second-team all-pro, and then Nick Benito with 13 and a half sacks last year. You're not talking small fish here. So for us, is if we can somehow neutralize the pass rush, that's going to be something that's big for us. And how's that going to start? It's got to be through the run game. We've got to be able to keep you guys off balance, be able to stay ahead of the sticks as much as possible. Getting behind the sticks in Denver with the pass rush like that, the crowd going crazy, that's a recipe for disaster. And we know that, especially when you guys have, Defensive Player of the Year Patrick Surtain on one side. I don't know a whole bunch about Riley Moss in terms of how well he played last year and so forth. But, we have a rookie wide receiver, a fourth-round rookie at that, who will be on the other side of that formation. So if we can't establish the run and protect against the pass rush, it's going to be a long day. But if we can do those things and make it a slug-out game, in Denver, 𝐁𝐫𝐞𝐤𝐄, who kicked the 66-yarder in the preseason, he might be able to get out the 71 with the atmosphere out there. So hopefully we can kind of slow it down, get it into a slug-out, dog fight, and really be able to fight from that perspective. But it's all about, on the offensive side, neutralizing the pass rush. On the other side of the football, can we stop Evan Engram? That's really the biggest piece for us. You guys experienced it last year, but Cody Barton is so-so when it comes to pass coverage. I'm not going to say he's good. He's not absolutely terrible, but he's somebody who's inching towards middle of the pack, we hope. Yeah. Evan Engram is somebody who's coming off an excellent season. And if we can't stop him, that's going to be a problem. I think Evan Engram is going to turn into Bo Nix's best friend. And if we can't break up that relationship early, they might get married right there on the field in front of us. So we've got to figure out how the heck we can slow them down. Because to be honest with you, from a receiver standpoint, Courtland Sutton doesn't really scare me if Snead is healthy, just to be transparent. I think Courtland Sutton can have a solid game, but I think it could be similar to what Patrick Surtain does to Ridley. They could essentially cancel each other out, those two matchups. I'm not saying it's going to be 0 yards either way, but maybe 70 yards from each receiver, whatever that looks like. Outside of that, whether it's Marvin Mims, whoever it is, can we stop you guys, and can 𝐒𝐞𝐤𝐿 show that as a rookie he can be productive and get open? So you're looking at both sides of the football. We've got to be able to establish the run and then somehow slow down Evan Engram to have a successful game plan.
Yeah. And to your point about the importance of Evan Engram, it's we in Broncos country are excited about some young receivers here. Pat Bryant, Troy Franklin, by all accounts, looks like a completely different player than he was last year as far as what you saw with the drops, etc. But those are just unknowns right now. And this is the first time we're going to see them against an NFL defense. So yeah, I think you're totally right on that. Evan Engram, he's just the most proven commodity outside of Courtland Sutton in an NFL atmosphere. So it's going to be really interesting to see if the Titans can break that up and make the Broncos go somewhere else.
Agreed. What do you guys think from a quarterback perspective? How often does Bo Nix take off with the football? I know that he's somebody who's got the ability to do so. You look at the yardage, but I know sometimes that could be deceiving. It could be a few games where he racked up a bunch. If he's pressured, or even if not, how quick is he to make decisions and go off script?
Second half of the year last year, Bo's rushing average actually went down drastically. So I believe he racked up 300 of his 421 yards rushing within the first half of the year, and then everything went kind of down from there. So once he became more comfortable in the offense, he wasn't doing as much running, and a lot of that was off the cuff. There wasn't as many calls actually played last year for Bo to run. And David could probably check me on that when it comes to the total number. So I would actually say if he's comfortable inside of the pocket, then you're not going to see him take off unless it's something that we've schemed out, which I think we're okay with him not having to, but it's also nice to see that if that contain, which we actually saw in preseason, gets broken enough that Bo's got the wheels to make you pay for it.
Huh.
But we in Broncos country, I think, are hoping to see it less than we saw it last year, because there were a lot of times last year where it felt like scrambling came a little bit too soon, when it was more like you need to kind of stand in, even though a lot of these plays led to positive runs, right? It maybe even some highlight reel stuff. It was like man, if you just kind of stood in there, reset, and scanned the field, you probably could have found something more beneficiary. And so that's, I think, going to hopefully been a point of emphasis this offseason, was to kind of get him to stand in a little bit longer. If you have to move off your spot, reset, throw the ball instead of have that first instinct be run. So we'll see. You know, I'm a little bit skeptical that lesson is going to show itself really prominently in the first game of the season. It may be a little bit more like last year as far as the runs go, but if you're not seeing it as much, it'll be because they worked on it quite a bit.
Yeah. And Sean here says, he does it every time he needs to. Bo knows when he needs to. Bo knows, right? And I believe that Bo knows best for these situations. Lem's like, oh God, that's terrible. Look, I think part of it is, yeah, I know, right? I think part of it is, we know that Bo can do it, right? But there's not a need for him to go do it. So it's almost like lure the defense into thinking that he's just not going to. And then at the opportune time, there's no spy. You have the right, setup, the right players on the field. You're in the right spot. That's when you utilize it, right? Because part of it, again, last year was Bo hurt his back, And so, yeah, while I think some of it was, and maybe it was a good thing in that it forced Bo to learn to play, in the pocket, step up and not rely on his legs. We can still use that to our advantage, just not every single time or not every single game, just when we need to, and then make the defense pay for it. So it's a good thing that, Bo can do, but he can throw, throw deep, he can stand in the pocket, step up, but when the time comes or when they call for the play, he can take off then as well.
That makes sense. Yeah. And it'll be on us to keep him in the pocket. That's something we struggled with last year, is keeping quarterbacks in the pocket. Again, the big emphasis has been, every time pass rush has been a conversation with the coach, the word of verbiage has been a rush plan, rushing together. So we'll see how that shakes out. It'll be a pretty good test for us week 1. And what we're hoping for is that you guys have a similar season to last year in terms of your first 2 weeks being your worst 2 weeks in terms of PFF rating. Yeah. At least, we're hoping that that's how it sticks. At least your worst offensive rating for the season. We're in your first 2 weeks of the season. It looks like you guys really, weeks 11 through 15 went crazy, and looks like average close to 30 plus points a game. So we're hoping that it doesn't pick up there and it's more like the beginning of the season. And hopefully we can keep it to a 6-13 win, like you guys with the Steelers last year.
And we're not used to 30-point games, as Broncos fans past decade.
Be honest, the defense scored in a few of those games.
They did.
Once more than once, maybe twice.
We're in the same boat. Last year we went for 30. I think it was once in the first few weeks, and that was our first time in like 4 seasons. Yeah, we had scored 30 points, so we feel the pain as well.
Yep, it's a shared brotherhood at that point. We're just looking at each other and like, we're not cheering for the same team, but I know your pain. Yeah, we've been there way too often. Let's take a quick break with some halftime stuff here at Bourbon Broncos No B.S. We'll get some conversations around matchups and get back to some of your comments, guys, to answer those. Appreciate all the comments coming in. Keep posting them as we go through this. So first off, guys, don't forget we got a pregame podcast coming out later this week. iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Stitcher. Make sure you're following us on all the different places. Also head over to broncosandbourbon.com. You can see all the different places where you can see the latest podcasts, latest episodes, the shows, and everything like that. Find quick places or quick links to go follow us if you're not already. We've also got a ton of articles. More of those will be coming out as these games progress. So tons of stuff to do over there. And you make sure you sign up for free this year. You'll get an automatic upgrade to the next membership tier when we introduce those next year. So this is the year to get in on it. Sign up for free. Also, we still have that Easter egg challenge. So forever who finds that Easter egg hidden on there is going to get a free lifetime top tier membership. You'll never have to pay for anything on the site, but I'm only going to give that out to one person. So I will say we have somebody that's they're close. They haven't found it yet. They're looking in the right area. And the same hint I gave last night, I'll give to you guys again. If you're new to the page, you're going to have a better chance of finding the Easter egg. So if you're new to the website, you're going to have a better chance of finding it. So good luck. And we'll see who wins that competition. But make sure you guys go sign up, again, for free. Game day, we got a ton of stuff. We got our live tailgate talk show 1 hour before kickoff. breaking down all the inactives, going all over all the last minute information and news before we get into the game. And then as soon as halftime starts, guys, I know what you do when halftime starts. You pick up your phone. You're not watching the commercials. You don't care about anything. You're going to get another snack or whatever, and you have your phone in your hand, okay? If you're lying if you say that you don't, you're lying to me. So just head on over to Facebook, open the podcast, open the show, share your thoughts and instant reactions to the first half of the game, and we can talk about all that and talk about what the Broncos need to do to come away with a win. So tons of stuff here. We're in full season mode at Bourbon Broncos No BS, and we are ready for it. So let's get back to it, guys. A couple things here. First, Sean's question, and then talk more about specific matchups and things that we're looking at from both sides of the ball. But Sean here says, how big of a mess will Sunday be if Morgan Cox has a bad game? Will it bring down the rest of the team? So, Lem, what do you think about that, buddy?
Morgan Cox has never had a bad game in his life. He's the best long snapper of all time. We are not worried about Morgan Cox.
He's our resident long snapper fan, and the only reason that we try to push Mitch Fabroni so much is because of Sean. So it's an important question for him that I think he really wanted to know. So
well, I hope we see the Mitch and Jeremy connection as much as possible. That's what we're praying for.
I love it. Well, David, Spotty, guys, what kind of matchups are you looking for on the Broncos side? You've heard a lot about stuff going on the Titans there, but from your vantage point and kind of leading in and previewing the pregame podcast later this week, what are you guys thinking?
Well, I'm glad Lim brought it up because, one of the things that I was just going to mention that I was going to talk about was the fact that last year the Titans gave up 52 sacks. Will Levis sacked 41 of those times, and Mason Rudolph sacked 11 of those times. So when you were talking about what Nick Bonito and Zach Allen are going to be doing to give up pressure, that's definitely something that's going to be a big thing for the offensive line for it. And, of course, Cam is not someone who is to throw it away as quickly as you want. I mean, even when he was in college, the least amount of sacks he took in one season was his last year with Miami, and he took 22 sacks that year. So I do believe that is a possibility when you have an offensive line that has not necessarily gelled as long as possible. You're going to run into an issue when you become you play a Denver team that's we were top 3 last year when it came to sack or blitz rate. And that's something Vance is going to want to throw them at a lot of times. So I do believe probably even to start off the game, the Broncos will probably throw something a little more exotic that Cam may not have seen in a while. And I could see us dominating the offensive line in that first half. And I do think that could be the trendsetter for the Broncos. Now, of course, when you're going to give a guy like Cam, if you give him enough time, he dropped some passes in those preseason or those joint practices. I think against the Falcons it was where up over top of the safety. So he's someone that you cannot give enough time to because he has the ability to make just about every throw on the field. He's not someone that anybody's ever been worried about him being able to check it down short or gup over top. So that pass rush for us is going to come into handy in this game.
Yeah, and that's the part that maybe gives me the most fear. When it comes to Patrick Surtain, I know it sounds simple, but throw the ball away from him as much as you can. You know what I mean? There's an easy fix for that, but the pass rush is something that once it starts rolling, and you start getting down in games, you got 3 and outs that are ended by sacks on a drive. That's when things can really happen in a real negative way, and things start snowballing. That's what happened to us in the Lions game when they hung 52 on us. Along with us having literally the worst special teams in the history of the NFL. Literally, go look it up. It's crazy. But, for us, if we can establish the run, that's the only way we'll be able to stand a chance is if we can establish the run. We've got some bigger, beefier body guys in the middle. If we can figure out how we can get any sort of, whether it's a trap game, whatever it may be, to slow down that, whether it's maybe there's some run blitzes that come into play. But if we can just keep you guys from pinning your ears back and just knowing we're in passing situations, that's the only way we'll be able to combat that. Otherwise, it'll be a long day.
Well, and for me, it's that run game, especially on the Broncos defense side, it's going to be important to see what the health of these inside linebackers looks like. And I am a little bit spooked about the messaging out of Sean Payton right now as far as Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton goes. And we're talking about making sure guys are healthy all through the season and having a plan and managing them really well and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so it might be nothing, right? It might be all just talk. And then Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton go out and play 60 snaps on Sunday. But they are expected to be really active parts of this defense. And Dre Greenlaw especially is one of the best inside linebackers in the NFL if he's healthy. So it's going to be really they're not talking about Talanoa Hufanga, who has injury history this same way. We're not talking about managing snaps and rotating. So I don't know. Like, we'll see if Justin Strnad gets a ton of action. I think we kept 2 inside linebackers on the practice squad as well. So they're clearly thinking they might need reserves at some point. And I'll be really interested to see what the run defense looks like against Tennessee if we don't see a lot of Singleton and Greenlaw out there.
No, that's fair. I mean, it's definitely a concern. Go for it. I'm sorry.
No, and I'm curious on that. How has Dre Greenlaw looked in the action he's played? Has he played much in the preseason? Does he look like he's his old self physically?
So that's a concern. Like the guy got injured as soon as he moved out to Denver. Like we picked him up in the offseason and like immediately he was injured during all the, optional practices and everything, the OTAs. So he was injured then, and then early on in training camp, he got injured a second time. And so even though before the 3rd preseason game, he came back and he was practicing and everything, they didn't play him at all. So we haven't seen anything of what he actually looks like. And, it's same with Alex Singleton. Like we haven't seen him. We don't know what he's going to look like coming off that big injury. Now he is on a contract year, so he has a lot to play for. But when you're trying to manage those snap counts and everything like that for who are supposed to be 2 of your bigger defenders on the defense, like that's a concern, at least from my vantage point. So I think it's a very good question to ask.
We also kept more defensive linemen this year too. So it's not just about the inside linebackers. We're hoping that by having a barrage of defensive linemen that you can throw out there to keep them fresh, that's also going to help in that situation. And then, of course, probably not that hot of a take, Alex Singleton's not going to be on this team next year.
Yeah. If there's any kind of dip in his performance or he gets injured again, it's not going to take much for them to move on from him. For sure, especially if he's going to ask for an increase.
30-something years old,
position.
Years. It's just the position that you have to almost stay youth with the youth movement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's where the Titans are as well. We are at a spot where, we rotated through. We haven't had the same linebacking core 2 years in a row for the last 4 or 5 years. Cody Barton coming in is really the lone linebacker who played any sort of meaningful snaps for anybody, last year. So we've got James Williams, who participated in all games, but most of the time strictly special teams. Maybe 50 defensive snaps for the year, and the same with Cedric Gray, who was essentially injured for the entire year. I think he came back in week 12 with a shoulder injury. So we're in a situation that's pretty similar where we've got younger guys. We just picked up 𝐒𝐫 White today, which was an interesting signing for us. Had 137 tackles for the Cardinals last year. So he's signed to the practice squad, a little bit of roster gymnastics going on there because if he's on the roster week 1 as a veteran, he has a fully guaranteed contract. So there's a little bit of roster gymnastics going on there. But we'll be interested to see if he plays a role, maybe as a call up week 1 to help try to bolster that room because we're in a very similar situation.
It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough matchup either way, for sure. I think for both sides, they're going to have to really pay attention to things. I mean, you look at week 1, both teams are going to be figuring things out. It's offense, especially for us. Now, this is Sean Payton's full playbook that we did not see last year. So there's going to be some learning, growth pains there that we're going to have to go through. And then, week 1, it does often boil down to mistakes. Right? Which team can make fewer mistakes? And so which team can be more disciplined? And so you're looking at, the Brian Callahan versus Sean Payton. Which team, and you're talking about, can Brian Callahan lead men? Can he get them disciplined? Right? Or if things start looking bad, in Denver and the score is slipping away from them, do they start doing things to dig them in the hole even further? So there's just a lot of things and extra variables in week 1 that you don't see in week 12, 13, 14 on.
Mm-hmm. And I've got a question for you guys in terms of kind of rolling into the second year with Bo Nix. What gives you guys the confidence to say Bo Nix is going to have a strong second year and avoid the sophomore slump that C.J. Stroud went through last year?
Yeah.
For me, it's coaching continuity, and I know C.J. Stroud had that too. But not having Bobby Slowick on the team, I think, is going to be a big help. I trust the offensive infrastructure. I know that's kind of an apples to apples comparison, and I think you were probably asking a little bit more of a broad question. But like, at least from that perspective, like, and this is the first time that Bo Nix has really had coaching continuity. Like, it's the first time since his senior year of high school. Oh, he started 61 college games, whatever. It's the first time since his senior year of high school that he's had the same offensive coordinator and play caller in consecutive years. Wow. So that really gives me more hope than anything else that we're going to be able to see him build, even if it's not like necessarily a week-to-week linear. He's just better every week. That overall he's going to be in a better place at the end of this season than he is at the beginning of it.
Wow. And for me, I believe it's because the Broncos were very intentional about adding the pieces that they needed to add. Yes, for this last year's season, the Texans added Stephon Diggs, and they added a couple other players here and there. But the Broncos came in. Evan Ingram is a big part of that, as you were talking about earlier. And then bringing in two running backs that if they live up to their potential, we're talking about 1,000-yard season, whether that be rushing or from scrimmage too. So I do believe by giving him those weapons and expanding the ability of the playbook, that's why we're going to see a better season for Bo.
And part of it is, and if we get a run game going, for me, it's not necessarily looking at the numbers, right? If you see a decrease in his numbers, that doesn't mean that he had a sophomore slump. Hopefully that means that we had a effective run game that Bo could rely on, take the pressure off of him, right? So obviously, if we see a decrease in his numbers and his performance, that's the reason why. But talking about getting some of those pieces, going out and getting J.K. Dobbins, drafting R.J. Harvey, where hopefully he gets more of a role as the season goes along. So when you can take the pressure off of the quarterback, and just it makes the defense have to pay attention to all these other pieces other than just Bo Nix and Courtland Sutton, right? If those are the only two you really have to worry about out there, the defenses have a better chance of being able to figure that out. But now you got, Pat Bryant, you got, all these other guys, Evan Ingram, everyone who's saying Bo Nix is a check down guy. Okay, well, if Evan Ingram is your check down guy, he can turn a 5-yard gain into a 25-yard gain, right? Mm-hmm. So that's the right guy that you want to have for that if that's really what he is. But we've seen that Bo Nix has the arm too. So giving him those pieces and adding to that, and then hopefully we see a continuation of the performance from the offensive line. A couple maybe preliminary concerns from what we saw in preseason with Bo Nix getting pressured a lot. Hopefully we're all kind of crossing our fingers that doesn't carry over into the regular season here. But as long as that performance continues from the offensive line, and that's just another unit that they've stayed together for several years now, which is super important, as we know, to the offensive line there. Having those things go in Bo Nix's favor should be what is giving me confidence, at least, to say that there shouldn't be a sophomore slump here.
And I see the vision, like the way they've built these playmakers. Like, even if it's not when you look at it, it's not like, oh man, there's so much electric talent here. It's not like a Minnesota room with Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson and that kind of, or the Eagles. But it does feel like, to me, they went out and saw the kind of success that Courtland Sutton had with Bo Nix last year, and then they said, let's get him an Evan Ingram who has the kind of the size and the reliability of a Bo Nix and can turn a smaller reception into a lot of yards. Let's get a Pat Bryant who is a bigger body, has really sure hands, can make dirty catches over the middle. He can be your slant guy in the way that Michael Thomas was. He's not going to be the quality player that Michael Thomas was necessarily, but he can be that guy who makes those kind of catches. And all of those play into, I think, what the coaching staff identified as things Bo Nix did really well last year. And so even if it doesn't necessarily play out on the field right away, I see the vision and why they decided to do it this way. Troy Franklin, he can go deep. Bo Nix can go deep. He likes to do it. And Troy Franklin has the speed to be that guy if he's reliable enough.
Yeah, and that's going to be one of the things is, do I think this game is going to turn into a shootout? No. But there's going to be some critical third downs. And again, I think both teams are going to focus on the opposite team's number one wide receiver and doing what they can to either box them, whatever it may be. I know double coverage is something that's really a thing of the past in the NFL. You don't really see that a lot unless it's one of the top 2 or 3 guys, but you will see some bracket coverages with the safety over the top and so forth. So I'll be curious to see what those other wide receivers do because, it'll be interesting to see if between Tyler Lockett, and a Marvin Mims, who can make plays there, between 𝐒𝐞𝐤𝐢𝐿 and a Troy Franklin, who's going to make plays there. Because from a tier of wide receiver standpoint, they're probably all floating around those same tiers. So it's going to be about on third downs, who's going to be the most reliable. That's a great word that you brought up, David. Is who's going to be the most reliable target overall, because that's what's going to win those games, if it's apples to apples in every other phase of the game.
Yeah,
I'm kind of glad you guys brought up some of the things earlier too, because talking about mistakes, right? A lot of the times the defense is still ahead of the offense at this point, right? Unless you're playing a truly powerhouse offense at the beginning of the year, which both of our teams not necessarily called that, we are going to see a lot of ugly football probably in the first half. And that's exactly why I don't think this game's going to be a shootout. I mean, even the Broncos proved it took them until their last drive as with the starters in preseason to score their first touchdown as the first team offense, right? So we might see a little more of that. And, as a fan, you have to expect that. Now, if we don't see that, of course, I'm going to be the happiest person, right? I want to be cheersing and taking my touchdown shots in the first half. But I definitely believe that this game will probably be won in the second half.
Yeah.
Agreed. I could see it being a very tight game going into the second half. And then it's based on who makes those adjustments. And that's where we're going to learn about Brian Callahan, because I believe Sean Payton can make pretty clear adjustments and he understands what it's going to take to be successful against whatever they're seeing in the first half. We're going to learn a lot about Brian Callahan, who did not serve to be a great adjustment maker in the second half of games last year. Oftentimes we would go into the second half, we would be fine, the first half, and then the second half, those first 2 or 3 possessions is where we would be down 10 points, is when that would happen. So if he doesn't learn to do that quickly, it could get ugly. In week 1, it's going to be all about adjustments. We have no idea what each other's going to throw. Again, you got Sean Payton, who's really can open up the playbook. You've got Cam Ward. You don't know exactly what you're going to get from him game 1. So there's going to be a lot of question marks. There's no film on what these guys are going to do. Sure, you've got film on Bo Nix from last year, but it's a totally new season. So it's going to be all about second half adjustments. Spotty, that's a great point right there.
Oh, good stuff. And I like this comment. Yeah, Lockett has been a Bronco killer. So hopefully that's not the case, but he is someone to watch out for while he's on the field. I do want to bring this one up from Sean. Wish we played Tennessee twice. I like the Slim guy. Knows his shit. I will say one of the things that caught my eye, if anybody hasn't caught me saying this yet, the first video I ever saw from you guys was you saying you'd rather face Kansas City in Kansas City week 1 than the Denver Broncos in Denver. And I was like, I like these guys. I want to talk to them. So it's good stuff,
man. Yeah. There's a lot. I feel like you guys are going to be coming out hungry. I remember having a feeling like this, when we came off the season where we lost to the Bengals to go to the Super Bowl, essentially, or to the AFC Championship, I should say. And that next year we felt like we all had it together. Now, did we? No. Ryan Tannehill shot us again. But it's one of those things where I know what that excitement can do. I know what that stadium can feel like, especially in an environment where our players aren't used to it. We've got, again, as I mentioned, we brought in a lot of bigger, beefier guys. How are they going to survive, when we have 80% oxygen versus the 100 you're used to in a loud environment against a team that's essentially coming back with a lot of the main players, at least on the offensive side of the ball, and in the interior of the defense and exterior of the defense than they did last year. You guys are bringing back a lot of pieces. We've had a lot of turnovers. Over 65% of our roster is different from last year than it is this year. So we're going to have a lot to fight to be able to at least make it a close game. And if we can make it a close game, we've got a shot. Otherwise, yeah.
What Here's the last kind of question. What for your team, like what's the expectation in the AFC South? Because it's a division that's not seen as very strong. So, if you come out of a season with an 8-8, 8-9 or 8-9 kind of record, you might still be pushing for that top spot. So, like, how do you think you're going to stack up against the division?
So for us, I think the worst team in the division is going to be the Colts. Their quarterback situation is, if you had a battle between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson, that's the end of the sentence for me. There's nothing else to talk about.
Yeah.
There was a battle, So the Jags is kind of the sleeper for us. We don't know exactly where the Jags are going to fall. They're a team where you never know what to expect from them. They can come out and win 11 games. They can come out and win 5 games. And both scenarios are equally as possible heading into the season. Adding Travis Hunter is a piece, but I don't know if he's that extra piece. He's not an elite wide receiver, in my opinion. He's a good wide receiver, which can really help bolster when you've already got a Brian Thomas Jr., but they've got a lot of holes similar to us. So I think we could really compete for them for second. And for the Texans, it really just depends on, one, health for them. Already having Joe Mixon being placed on IR is something that's big. They're one slip up from Nico Collins from having an offense that looks absolutely terrible, relying on rookies just like us. So it really depends on if CJ Stroud can turn it around and they can stay healthy. You can, again, as you mentioned, 9 games can win this division, depending on what the Texans do. So it's a spot where I think we'll fall between 2 and 3, depending on where the Jags are. I could see a scenario where we end up being in that second spot, but it's going to take a lot of magic towards the end of the season for us because our first 4 weeks are real ugly.
Yeah. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Let's see. I think there was one more here I wanted to bring up. A lot of Fabroni comments, some pizza comments that apparently are burning me. So we're going to avoid those ones. But let's see here. Yeah, Nicole Ford, hope you do well because living out in Tennessee there, don't want to go to work the next day and have to hear about it. Yeah, I'm already seeing. Look, I love the smack talk that I'm already seeing in the videos, that we post and stuff like that. It's that time of year, where everybody's at each other's throats, and I love it. I freaking love it. It's good. All fans, though, that's all that matters. And yeah, look, this is something that we've seen. Crawdaddy, our punter, rookie. We're gonna have to see how he does. But look, if it is a close game, and this is something I talked about, and we don't have to break it down here, but if it's a close game, special teams really matters. And if we turn the ball over through a punt that ends up getting shanked, and yeah, you guys get excellent field position time over and time over, that's going to hurt, right? So there's a lot of little things that we're going to have to look for in this upcoming matchup. So we'll do some closing comments here in a second. David and Spotty, they're going to be giving their score predictions later on this week, either in the pregame podcast or before the game in the tailgate talk show. But Lem and I will go ahead and give our score predictions as part of our final thoughts. But before we do that, guys, once again, head on over to broncosandbourbon.com. Sign up for free today. Check out all the different content on game day. Head on over to the game day chat in the fan zone section there, the huddle section, and post your thoughts, chat with other Broncos fans throughout the game, all that stuff. Make sure you're checking out the podcast, the shows, all the different content we have for you guys there. But again, starting off the 10th anniversary here, and we are more than excited to be sharing that all with you guys, because this is why we do it, is to be able to talk to you guys, the fans, and have fun with you guys wherever you may be, whether you're somebody down in New Zealand who is more of a Jerry Jeudy fan. It doesn't matter. Wherever you are, we will talk to you and have fun with you. So but with that being said, guys, let's go around the horn here. David, we'll start with you, man. Some closing thoughts.
It's low-key interesting how pivotal a season this is for the Broncos, with going into year 2 with Bo Nix, with Sean Payton, his kind of first-hand picked guy. We're still very much writing that narrative, and I feel like there's a little bit of a feeling among some fans that it's written, like that we know how it's going to end now. And I'm really fascinated to see what kind of development we get and how linear it is and what's next. And, the Titans are a team going in that kind of that same direction with the young quarterback, with the coach that they're really hoping guides him to bigger and better things. And so this is a really intriguing matchup to me from those kind of storylines in week 1.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting to come into a season with expectation. It feels like it's been a very long time that there's been, you know, everybody's like, oh, the Denver Broncos are going to finish last in the AFC West. And now to go on and turn on ESPN or look at Bleacher Report, and a lot of teams are picking us to win the AFC West or to be a playoff team. And it makes me kind of nervous, I'm not going to lie, because we know what we should have, but it's been a very long time that we've put together multiple seasons that were very strong. So, you know, honestly, at this point, I'm just ready to see how it's going to play out on the field. As you guys already know, I haven't been a Sean Payton fan this whole entire time. So I truly hope that he makes me a believer this year, because just like you said, David, he said every bit of piece, every person is in his spot that he wanted. So this should be the year that the Broncos live up to that expectation.
Yeah. There's a lot riding on them. I think the pressure there. So it's going to be fun to watch. Lem, buddy, again, thank you for joining us tonight. It's been fantastic having you. You're definitely welcome here any freaking time. So closing thoughts over to you, buddy.
Yeah, man. So one thing I always have to do is please tune in. We have a Titans versus Broncos preview episode coming out tomorrow. You can find us on youtube.com/Alex Network, and it'll be dropping sometime tomorrow. We'll see, probably in the morning, but come check it out. See what we think. You're probably going to get upset about something that we say. We filmed it on Saturday, so I'm going to tell you, you're definitely going to get upset about something that we say. But just understand this. We are excited about this season. We're excited to match up with you guys week 1. Again, you guys are a scary opponent. I mentioned it before on a similar podcast that, you know, I'd rather play the Chiefs week 1 than play you guys. You guys have so much going for you. But we're going to come ready to fight, baby, and we're going to tighten up. But again, I know you mentioned score prediction. I'll give it to you here. I am predicting let's go 20-14 victory for the Broncos. I think it's going to be a close one. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think it could be race 220. I know 21 is really the easy football number, but a race to 20 because I think some field goals will be in there. But I think you guys beat us to that race and ultimately win the game.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah, guys, make sure you go check out Press Man Coverage. Give them a follow. They make some great stuff too. And if you're just a fan of football and everything, make sure you guys go check them out. Great stuff over there. For me, look, it very well could be a slow start for both teams like we've talked about. So what team can hang in there the longest? I know somebody mentioned earlier, I think it was KW talking about that thin mile high air, man. When it gets to the fourth quarter, man, you guys better have your oxygen tanks ready to go, because early in the season and it's going to be warm and all that stuff. You guys are going to be in the sun on the sideline there. So it's going to be a tough game for you guys. But you're right. You know, very well could be a race to 20 if the defense just is having an off day, kind of they're starting off slow. We could find ourselves in a world of trouble. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Lots of things to break down and talk about as we go throughout the week. So guys, make sure you're checking out all the other content, the podcast, the show before the game, the halftime show, all the things that I mentioned before. But for me personally, I think it very well could be a game where it's 24-17. You know, maybe you guys do get some scores early on in the game and hold it closer, and then Broncos pull away at the end there. So I'm not going to discount what Cam Ward and the Tennessee Titans offense can do. You know, I just want to make sure that the defense is fully ready to go. Everyone is healthy right now. We want to keep it that way and see what happens. But ultimately, I think home crowd, you know, being in Denver is going to help us out. I think this was in Tennessee. Man, it could be a very different conversation we're having, or at least saying, this is a little closer than, you know, what we might want it to be. So it's going to be fun either way. Week 1 is here and everything matters. So that's being said, man, David, Spotty, Lem, again, Lem, thank you very much. But David and Spotty, you guys are great co-hosts as always. It's great being here with you guys. Everyone in the comments, if I read off all your names, we'd be here another 10 minutes. So yes, and Nicole, I cannot wait to chant this as loud as I can. Hopefully a lot of times. We'll see. But look, it's going to be great, guys. If you are going to the game, look for the Flagman tailgate, which is the one I always go to. In the back of Lot C, just look for the one tailgate that has over 100 flags flying. You cannot miss it. Don't go to the one with like 2 or 6 flags or 3 flags. No, those are the wrong ones. Go to the one with all of the flags. and that's where we're going to be at. Great people, great food, great atmosphere. Come on down, say hi, and hang out with us. You guys are all more than welcome. So, man, it's been a great show. It's been great talking to you guys. We'll be back later this week with more content. Make sure you're following us. But, man, I have nothing left to say other than end the show, as we always do, on a very strong Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
Tighten up, tighten up, tighten
There
up.
we go. Take care, guys.
In the zone, here I go. In the zone, here I go. In the zone, here I go. Yeah, they know I'm a pro.